What's up, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with Commanders. I'm your host, Mason Kenahan, and the Washington Commanders have just lost their first game since the game against Baltimore as they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers 28-27. This snaps a 3-game winning streak, I believe, for Washington. Let me check. Yeah, a 3-game winning streak for Washington after the loss to the Ravens about a month ago. Now, it's a disappointing loss, 28-27, a 1-point loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Came all the way down to the wire. There was just multiple miscues. That was the big storyline throughout this game for Washington. Miscue after miscue. We'll get into it a little bit more when we talk about both sides of the ball. We'll start, though, with QB1 because, guys, we got to have a conversation here. We have to have a conversation. All right, we've been spreading these pro Jayden Daniels agendas. And look, that is totally fine. He's having an incredible rookie season, right? He's having the best rookie quarterback season out of any rookie quarterback this year or in this past draft class. He's having probably the best rookie season since Stroud, similar to Stroud's year last year. But we got to talk about this game because this was by far the worst game of Jayden Daniels' young NFL career. I'm not saying like it's over or anything like that. He's still, at the end of the day, this was Jayden Daniels' worst game of his career, and Washington still lost by 1. So he still kept us in the game. But we do have to talk about his performance a little bit because it was not good. It was not good, to say the least, for Jayden Daniels. 17 of 34 for 202 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, passer rating of 68.5. He took 3 sacks for 20 yards. Now, there's a lot of different factors that go into this. The offensive line, the injuries on the offensive line, his receivers. I'm just going to say, there were open throws for Jayden Daniels in this one, especially towards the end of the game. I'll talk about the drive where Washington was backed up inside their own 5-yard line. Jayden had Luke McCaffrey on I believe it was a third down, open for pretty much a big gain and potentially even a touchdown, and slightly just overthrew him. There was many throws like that where you could tell Jayden Daniels was just slightly off on pretty much all of his throws throughout this game. There was an underthrow to Noah Brown on the final drive, or not final, yeah, on the final drive, where I think it was second down or third down and 10, and he tossed up a pass to the right sideline to Noah Brown, where if you just hit him in stride, it would have been still a little bit of a tough catch because you had the safety closing in on Noah Brown, but instead he slightly underthrows it. It hits Noah Brown, I believe, in the helmet, which doesn't come down with it. You could say it was slightly on Noah Brown there too, but still, there were just throws like that where Jayden has just been near perfect the entire season. And now you come into a game like this where, pretty much all the stats are down. You could tell the accuracy wasn't there throughout this entire game. Now, you're still fairly accurate. It just wasn't as accurate as we've seen on some of his throws throughout the past couple of months because, he set the bar so high for himself in the last couple of months, and he's been able to carry this offense because of it. But now in a game where Jayden has a pretty bad one, Washington, they still put up 27 points on offense, but a lot of it was due to the defense putting themselves in positions to succeed. Like I said, Jayden with only 202 yards through the air. I believe he did not even run that much. 3 carries for 5 yards on the ground, so barely even ran at all as well. More advanced stats for Jayden in this performance. He had a negative 0.16 EPA per play, equating to a negative 7.2 total EPA on this one. That was his worst EPA. That's the first time actually in his career he's been in the negatives in EPA per play, which is pretty shocking this season, especially since he's gone up against defenses like Chicago and like Baltimore. But here, this Steelers defense did it for him. It was by far, advanced stats-wise, his worst game of the season and of his young career so far. Completion percentage over expected of a negative 14%. So he of the expected passes he was supposed to complete, he completed negative 14% less than what he was expected to complete, which that was also not great. You can maybe equate that to the drops because a lot of passes were dropped in this one, but still, still in the negatives. I believe that's one of the first times this season, maybe not the first time, but one of the few times this season where that metric has also been in the negatives. Now, most of his receivers also had negative EPAs. Olamide Zaccheaus did not have a great game. Eckler didn't have a good game. De'Ami Brown, Zach Ertz. We'll get into that play at the end of the game once we get to the offense. But overall, look, Jayden did not have his best game. Okay, and as Washington fans, you got to accept that. You can't look at it from like a view of, oh, Jayden Daniels has been great all season. Look, I mean, we can just say, oh, his receivers threw away this game, which again, like I said, there were a lot of drops in this one, but still, there were throws where Jayden had receivers open and he couldn't find them. Additionally, he was pressured a lot in throughout this game, really. But with Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, I mean, Cam Hayward, they were pressuring Jayden a lot in this one. But I mean, you could tell some of his pocket management, rolling out of the pocket, was just a little interesting. His footwork when he was scrambling wasn't incredible, or at least as good as we've seen in the last few weeks. Now, again, I'm not saying Jayden Daniels is going to be this bad throughout the rest of the season. Maybe this is just a one-off. But this offense was not able to ultimately win this game and did not have a lot of success due to Jayden Daniels having a pretty poor game. That's what I'm trying to say here. So it was unfortunate how things kind of went down for Washington's offense. We'll just jump right into that now because that's pretty much all I'm going to say on Jayden. I know you guys are going to get mad at me for that. But moving to the offense now, overall for the offense, I said it because of Jayden not doing so well, this offense really struggled. Only 242 yards of total offense in this one, 5 of 14 on third down. And they, of course, did not convert that fourth down with Zach Ertz. That's their first fourth down conversion that they did not pick up this season. They were 11 of 11 before that, which was the longest active streak in the NFL. Now they're 11 for 12, and that one really stings. My thoughts on that Zach Ertz completion, whether he made it to the line or not. Now, me personally, I think he made it, but I also understand the call because with forward progress and all of that, he was coming back to the ball the entire time. So you couldn't really mark forward progress. Now, when he caught the ball, I did think, yeah, once he caught the ball, he was across the 41-yard line or whatever it was for him to get that first down. But then he wasn't touched, and then he tried, as he was moving backwards, he also then tried to move back forwards, which then kind of messes up his forward progress there, which I get the call of him being marked down. Also, there was no real good angle. Now, everyone posting these different angles. The only great angle that I found was that broadcast angle, but all of the replay angles were not that great in showing where the ball was and where the first down marker was. I really think the broadcast angle is probably the best angle to look at that. What else? It was also just too close to call. They called it short, which, I mean, I thought it was originally short on the catch. I thought it was originally short. So that makes sense. And then that's just not, it's just too close to call. You can't overturn something like that, especially when none of the replay angles are giving you like a good shot at what is happening. I don't know if the NFL can implement like this stadium wasn't like a dome, but I don't know if the NFL will ever implement like a bird's eye view, which I think could be interesting on some plays to help with instant replay and seeing where the ball is. I think a bird's eye view angle there would have been really nice. But still, at the end of the day, there was just too many miscues. The game should not have gone down to that one play and then the Johnny Newton miscue later on. Those two miscues don't define this entire game where Washington was leading. Washington at one point was leading by 10 points. And then Steelers go on a 14-3 run to end the game, and Washington loses. So offense overall lacked consistency. That's kind of the main headline here in this one. The first half really struggled beyond getting the ball, getting like a magical play, really, where the Steelers faked a punt and then wide open was the gunner to complete the catch, and the gunner just dropped it. So very lucky for Washington to have that gunner drop it because no one was on him. That was an easy first down on a fourth down completion, but no one was on him. He just dropped it, so that helps Washington. So then Washington gets the ball at the 15-yard line, and then they easily convert a touchdown there because Washington's offense, again, this season has been super successful, especially in the red zone. Well, beyond 2 games. In the red zone, they usually are able to convert. And when you give Washington a short field like that, they will convert. We've seen it so far this season. And then moving on to, I mean, the offense kind of just died down after that. It was the only 2 very successful offensive drives, like long offensive drives in this one, was the drive right before the half and then the drive right after the half. 5 plays, 71 yards, led by, I believe it was Terry who had a big pickup. Yeah, a 54-yard pass to Terry McLaurin from Jayden Daniels to kick off the drive. That ended in a touchdown. And then a 15-play, 94-yard drive for Washington. It was over 5 minutes long to begin the second. Oh, sorry, no, it was 15. All right, 15-play, 94-yard drive to end the first half, and then a 5-play, 71-yard drive led by that Terry McLaurin big catch to open up the second half. So it was a good answer by Pittsburgh offense to answer that second half drive. We'll get into more of this defensive performance in a little bit, but beyond those 2 drives, you had a field goal, but that was really it, or 2 field goal drives, I think, but that was really it. One questionable call, I would say. Let me find if there's stats on this one. 4th down decision for Washington. Let me find it. I don't believe there was. Yeah, I don't believe there was a. Yeah, I can't find the numbers for it, but there was a 4th and 4 from the Pittsburgh 23-yard line. Instead of going for it, Washington elects to give the ball to the kicker, the backup kicker, Zane Gonzalez, who knocks down a 41-yard field goal. It was a good day overall from Zane Gonzalez. He didn't miss at all. Again, coming in for Austin Seibert, who's dealing with an injury. So great stuff from the backup kicker, signed yesterday, I believe. So good stuff from Zane Gonzalez. But 4th and 4 at the Pittsburgh 23, and at this point, you're up by 6. So you're up by 3 at this point, and the field goal would still keep it a 1-possession game. I'm going for it. I'm going for it if I'm Dan Quinn. You've been aggressive all season. You've converted every 4th down up until this point all season. 4th and 4, I'm going for it. It's only a 3-point game, and I mean the Steelers' offense shows that they can march down the field on your defense. I mean, I'm going for that if I'm Dan Quinn. He elects not to, and ultimately comes and bites Washington in this one. Because again, Washington lost by 1 because they kicked a field goal. Now, if they got that 4th and 4 and they were able to score a touchdown there, it put this game at 31-21 with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, a 10-point game with 2 minutes to go. And then, I mean, that's hindsight looking, and like Pittsburgh then turns it over on the next 2 possessions. But I mean, if I'm Dan Quinn, I'm going for this. That was probably the one questionable move, I would say, or a questionable play call from Dan Quinn in this one. It'll definitely be talked about because, I mean, I can't find the 4th down conversion point for this one. I don't think it's a lot of Pittsburgh ones, but I mean, if I'm Dan Quinn, I'm going for that just because I've got right now the best offense in the league. I've got the best offense in the league. Simple as that. And it's 4th and 4. You've been so good on 4th down all season long. So that was a disappointing play call from Dan Quinn. Let's look at the stats, starting with the running game. Only 60 yards on the ground, averaging less than 3 yards per carry. Washington could not run the ball this entire game. Eckler, 13 carries for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jaron McNichols, 4 carries for 7 yards and a touchdown. Once they got down inside the 5-yard line, they were able to run the ball. But beyond that, there was just no running game. Only 22 carries for Washington in this one. And if you take out Jayden Daniels' 3, it's only 19 carries, which is one of the lowest for Washington this season. So that was also interesting. Not sure why. I mean, it's really hard to run the ball on Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward. That's probably why Washington wasn't running the ball a lot. But still, disappointing to see. Again, this offensive line was banged up. Tyler Biadasz was out for a good portion of this game. Brandon Coleman was playing the entire game at left tackle. No Cornelius Lucas. Andrew Wiley, I don't believe, played at all either because he was dealing with an injury. That apparently, I mean, he was questionable, and then he was active for the game, but was only going to be placed in emergency situations. So that was unfortunate. This offensive line was banged up, and you could really tell. Coleman struggled in this one, and both Trent Scott as well and Nick Allegretti, all three of those guys struggled in this one in pass pro. It was pretty tough to watch. Jayden was under pressure the entire game. They could not really get that much movement in the run game either for this offensive line, and that showed in the stats. Even though they scored 3 touchdowns, it was all in short yardage situations, and ultimately Washington still averaged less than 3 yards per carry. I believe that's also one of the lowest on the season as well. For the receiving game, Terry McLaurin with a big game, 5 catches on 6 targets for 113 yards. Somehow did not get a touchdown in this one. He had a major game, multiple big-time catches. Again, I feel like he had a good game, good enough to get a touchdown. But, again, no passing touchdowns for Jayden Daniels. Noah Brown, 3 catches for 33 yards on 7 targets. It was a rough game for Noah Brown. Rough game. Multiple drops, including the 2nd and 10, I believe, drop where late in the game, I mentioned it already, but it was a pass behind Noah Brown, but it was good enough pass still for Noah Brown to make the catch and pick up the first down for Washington. Just hits him right in the head. It just hits him right in the face mask, and he can't hold it in. So, unfortunate for Noah Brown. Zach Ertz, 4 catches for 31 yards on 8 targets. He also had a rough one, a couple of drops for him. I will say, I mean, like, this guy does not get any yak. This guy is always, it feels like, running towards the line of scrimmage when he's catching passes, whether it be that last play on that 4th and 10 when he's running towards the line of scrimmage or some other ones as well. This man does not get any yak. Like, it's four catches for 31 yards. I'd be surprised if he got more than 5 yards after the catch this game. So that's something. Luke McCaffrey had a catch for 23 yards. It was a big-time catch as well, late, I believe, in that first half. So big game or big catch for Luke McCaffrey. He should have had more because there was multiple times in this game. I mean, he had 3 targets. One of them was wide open, making a deep crosser on a 3rd down, backed up inside the 5. Jayden Daniels slightly overthrows it to his right, and McCaffrey can't catch up to it. But McCaffrey's been open these last few weeks. I mean, his big game is just coming, whether it be against Philly, hopefully on Thursday. But still, like, McCaffrey only with 1 catch. Not wonderful. Zacchaeus was a rough game for him. But yeah, he only had 1 catch for 8 yards on 3 targets. He had 2 punt returns that were muffed. One of them was almost recovered. One of them was recovered by the Steelers. That gave the Steelers short field position. So rough game from Olamide Zacchaeus. Eckler had a catch for 7. De'Ami Brown, 2 catches, negative 13 yards. 2 catches. Yes, this is a real stat. Like 2 catches, negative 13 yards. He had a negative 2-yard completion and a negative 11-yard completion. That is insane. That is not good. He also dropped a wide open touchdown late in that first half. It was a rough game from De'Ami Brown as well. So pretty much every single receiver beyond Terry had a rough game. Terry as well, though, I do want to mention this guy gets like tackled from behind so many times on these deep balls. I guess he's not that fast, but he just gets tackled so many times on plays where there's no one between him and the end zone, and he just gets people just catch up to him. So I want to mention that, but I mean, that's just me being like strict about it. But yeah, so it was a crazy one for this receiving game. I mean, this team really struggled. It really struggled on the offensive end. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, Jeremy Chinn had a pretty good game. 13 tackles, 6 solo. He also had a pass breakup. He had an interception, and he had a fumble recovery. Now, the fumble recovery was interesting because it was at the goal line. You guys probably remember this. At the goal line, I thought the forward progress already marked Jaylen Warren down, but apparently it didn't. Quan Martin did a good job. I mean, Quan Martin himself had an up and down game, but he did a good job of stripping it out, and I mean, it fell right into the hands of Jeremy Chinn. Chinn's interception was pretty much just a an arm punt from Russell Wilson. But overall, I mean, Chinn had a pretty good game. Also, that fumble that Chinn recovered kind of made up for a no call on a fumble that John Newton ended up with. Newton himself had a pretty good game up until, of course, where he jumped offside. 4th and 1, you can tell that the Steelers are probably just going to line up and then go hard count, and hopefully no one jumps, or hope for someone to jump. I mean, it just took one hard count from Russell Wilson, and Johnny Newton was already 3 steps beyond the line of scrimmage. It was pretty bad. A rookie mistake from Johnny Newton, the 2nd-round pick out of Illinois, which is unfortunate as well because he himself had a pretty good game in this one. Ever since he's come in for Jonathan Allen, he's had some pretty good performances. So, again, 3 tackles for him, and a quarterback hit. So it was a pretty good game from Johnny Newton. We got to talk about Benjamin St-Juste, guys. I am counting down the days until Marshawn Lattimore suits up in a Commander's uniform and plays, because Benjamin St-Juste, he gave up the touchdown to Mike Williams, the go-ahead game-winning touchdown to Mike Williams. There was so many other moments as well. I believe he gave up a 2nd touchdown. So the man struggled this entire game. It was very bad. Another week, another very bad performance from Benjamin St-Juste. It's unfortunate. He's going to be a free agent after this season. Does moving him to going up against the 2nd-best receiver on a team even help at this point? It is bad, what we've seen from Benjamin St-Juste over these last few weeks and over the course of this season, really. I've been very unimpressed. On the flip side, though, we got to talk about some dogs, because there were a couple of dogs in this one. One of them being Mike Sainristil. He was all over the backfield. He's making some big-time tackles on Najee Harris. I loved what I saw from Mike Sainristil in the backfield in this one. Multiple tackles for loss, I believe, as well, I want to say. And Dante Fowler, 2 sacks in this one. Massive. 2 sacks, a bunch of pressure on Russell Wilson. He's really going to be a Pro Bowler this year. You love to see it. Breakout year for him with the Washington Commanders. So bigger role for him, and he's delivering it. He's delivering as a pure pass rusher for the Commanders. So Dante Fowler is having, a great stretch in the last month. I got to figure out what his total stats are, but I believe he's the sack leader on this team. So good stuff from Dante Fowler. Louvu and Wagner each had 7 tackles each. Sheldon Day played a lot at defensive tackle, signed, I believe, off the practice squad a couple weeks ago when Jonathan Allen went down. 8 tackles for him. Meanwhile, Percy Butler had a pretty good day on special teams. Igbenogany, it was kind of up and down for him. George Pickens made an insane grab for a touchdown, the opening touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can't really blame Igbenogany there because, Pickens is just insane sometimes. So 3 tackles for Igbenogany. It was not a good day from this defense, especially in that second half. In the first half, it was good. Only 97 total yards allowed in the first half. But in the second half, it was a struggle. So, with that being said, final takeaways from this one: a disappointing 28-27 loss. Washington could not execute on all 3 levels: offense, defense, special teams. None of them were as good as what we've seen in the last few weeks. And Washington's got to bounce back quickly from this loss, because you got Philadelphia, the Eagles, who, let me check. I believe I'm watching Red Zone, so they're not on right now, but Philadelphia is up 7-3 right now on Dallas. I'm assuming they win this game because they're going up against Cooper Rush. I'm posting this video in the morning, so maybe they go out and lose. But it's going to be a tough task against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night at Lincoln Financial. It's going to be a crazy environment, and this team has to be ready. This team is so many injuries. No Brian Robinson in this game. No starting left tackle. No starting right tackle in this game. You had, again, no Jonathan Allen for the rest of the season. No Marshawn Lattimore. Will Marshawn Lattimore make his debut on Thursday? I don't even know. So Washington needs a bye week bad, and they will get a mini bye week because they play on Thursday. They will get a mini bye week next week after the Eagles game. But Washington plays in 4 days, and they got to be ready for this. Jayden Daniels has to be ready for a bounce back game. 27 points for this offense is good, but it wasn't enough to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I expect Philadelphia to put up a lot of points against this defense, especially with that wide receiver duo they have out there. So there's a lot riding on this game against Philadelphia. Washington, assuming Philadelphia beats Dallas, will be a half game back. in this one, or a half game back in or will they be a half game or will they be a full game back? I believe they'll be a half game back. Yeah, they'll be a half game back on Philadelphia heading into Thursday night's matchup between the two top teams in the NFC East, one way or another. So that'll be something to watch. Let's move on to wrap this one up. Next episode will be out Thursday morning. I'm excited for that one. For that one on Thursday. My roommate is going to be on the pod. He is a Eagles fan, so that we'll see how that goes. But that will be a fun pod. So it will be interesting. Commanders Eagles on Thursday. This team needs to heal up. They need put Jayden Daniels in bubble wrap, and because that guy got banged up today. Brian Robinson better be ready for Thursday. Marshawn Lattimore better be ready for Thursday, because if we see the team that played today go up against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday, we are getting demolished. We are getting demolished because, especially in that second half, if we see this team in that second half go up against the Eagles, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. So Washington has to clean up the miscues, but beyond that, move on to the next week. So yeah, that'll wrap it up for this week's episode of Keeping Up with Commanders. Next episode will be out Thursday morning, previewing Eagles Commanders on Thursday night. That'll be it for this week's episode of Keeping Up with Commanders. See you guys in the next one. Peace.